This is the Gnostic Gospel of Judas Iscariot. It is valued for over $2 million. What made this ancient manuscript to be such of a high value is that it holds secret that Judas Iscariot, being one of the disciples of Jesus Christ, claimed that the Master only revealed to him. And not just that alone, it also holds some secret that pertains to human existence here on this blue planet, and also the creation of the cosmos, and also the creation of angels. In fact, all of the questions that has to do with our life existence on this planet.
Judas is really the best of all the disciples. He's the only one that has secret knowledge. We also see within this writing that Cain is a good guy, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they're bad guys. God does not create the universe.
Jesus reveals to Judas that the Creator God is indeed evil. Jesus teaches that he himself comes from a true higher God who is the source of all true knowledge, love, and goodness. Jesus said, "Come that I may teach you about secrets no person has ever seen."
So with such a rich manuscript, it's not surprising that it was placed in a vault far from the public contact. But as you can guess, nothing can be hidden forever, as early in the 1970s, it was stolen, but by whom? It later resurfaced in the early 2000s where it was being sold in the black market, and that also led to its recovery. Right now, it is being kept under the care of the National Geographic Society. But you can get a glimpse of this content by simply searching for it on Google and just fish through. But this is not the only item of great value that has been recovered. As not long after the success in the recovery of the Gnostic Gospel of Judas Iscariot, it led to another great recovery, which happens to be the lost part of the Ember Room, valued for over $142 million.
This room was used by the Russian Tsars to entertain foreign guests and dignitaries, and every surface of every wall is covered in individual amber pieces, all ornately put together. So it's a real statement of wealth and beauty. It was known as the eighth wonder of the world.
The Ember Room happens to be a priceless chamber made up of ember panels and gold leaves. It was designed in the 17th century in Poland for King Frederick I of Prussia. Tsar Peter I of Russia received the Ember Room as a gift from the Prussian ruler. It was installed in the Winter House in St. Petersburg and later on moved to the Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg. During the Second World War, the Nazi soldier dismantled the room and moved it back to Prussia. But when the Soviet Union seized the city in 1942, no trace of the room could ever be found again. In the early 2000s, fragments of the room were recovered in Russia, but the complete restoration of the room could not be achieved.
Wasn't there recently discovered like a giant cave that was full of cars? Like Nazis had stolen a bunch of cars and put them in this cave. There are eyewitnesses stating that they saw large boxes containing the ember panel standing outside the castle ready for transport in 1944. As recently as 2016, a Polish historian and museum curator thought he had finally found the resting place of the priceless panels. Locals near the town of Murki in Poland had reported seeing trucks unloading large boxes around the end of the war in 1945, and Plebanczyk headed over there in 2016, which was apparently when he found this information out. Scanning a known former German bunker with ground-penetrating radar, he found a tunnel or possibly another hidden bunker under the grounds, and after digging for a little bit, he and his team found a metal hat.
But though this room was made up of precious materials like gold-plated leaves and ember panels, it cannot be compared to the recovery of one of the rarest diamonds, which happens to be the Hope Diamond.
Provenance, it has an extraordinary history.
There were so many twists and turns and dramatic events.
And mayhem brought upon its owners. Kings and queens.
The one that started perhaps 2 or 3 billion years ago, deep in the Earth's upper mantle.
Now, the recovery of this rare jewel is kind of a unique one. This precious stone was discovered in India sometime in the 16th century, where it was bought by King Louis XIV of France, which as of then was 110.5 carats diamond. Later, the diamond was recut into several sizes to what we now have today. What made this recovery such of a unique one is the different hands it passed through before finally being recovered. Firstly, it disappeared from France during the French Revolution and later resurfaced in London in 1812, which led to it being a possession of the British king, being King George IV. It was then purchased by Mr. Philip Hope, who happens to be a British collector, and named the diamond after him. His family held it through the 19th century, and in 1912, Pierre Cartier sold it to the American heiress Evelyn Walsh, whose estate sold it to the jeweler Harry Winston. Harry Winston later donated it to Smithsonian in 1958, where since then it has been a stand as an exhibition. Alright, so far all the whole recovery that we have looked at, they're kind of long-term recovery, whereby the person that loots the item, it takes a bit of time for them to recover the item. But the next one I'm going to be looking at is kind of a short-term recovery, whereby the item that was stolen was just immediately recovered. And not just that alone, the person that stole the item was even rewarded. Yes, of course, the person was rewarded for stealing, not in terms of punishment, but was financially rewarded. And it sounds kind of stupid, you understand, to be rewarded for committing a crime. Now, this particular recovery can be traced back in the 16th century, and it happens to be the British crown jewel, and it is worth over $3 billion. Thomas George and his gang actually tricked the jewel housekeeper into showing them the jewel, but afterwards they managed to steal the jewel. After some serious interrogation and investigation, they were finally caught. Now, the funniest part of this whole recovery is the fact that Thomas Colonel George was actually pardoned, and he was given Irish land as a form of compensation, for operation wrongly done. Now, in summing up all of this whole recovery and this whole heist, it will be worth mentioning one of the most historic figure that has been recovered, that if it was not so, it could have been a missing piece in today's art world, and that has to be the Mona Lisa painting. Now, the Mona Lisa was recovered in Florence, Italy on December 12, 1913, after being stolen from Louvre in 1911. Now, on August 21st, 1911, Italian handyman Vincenzo Perugia stole the painting while the museum was closed for cleaning. Actually, he was about selling the painting when he was arrested. And up to this date, the painting is still in exhibition show, where crowds often gather to see the great work of Leonardo da Vinci.